Hello, everybody. I'm Linda. I'm the old bird with Gotta Be Handmade. I'm learning to go live on YouTube, and I thought I would do my very first video and work at the same time. I'm creating a new quilt pattern, and it needs some tweaking. It needs some more things done to it. So I thought I would come on live with you and do it. I hope you're having an amazing day today. My husband is with me, behind me. He's having his dialysis, and we are enjoying a beautiful day. It is sunshiny, warm, with a few clouds in the sky. Thank you for joining me. Now, let me share with you what I'm going to do. I'm on my desktop. So let me move the keyboard and show you what I'm working on. This is my new quilt pattern. I hope you can see it. There you go. This is the key to the pattern. And I like it. Let me show it to you. I like it. And I was even gonna place this one in my Etsy shop. I have it copyrighted, but let me show you. You see right on this side over here, there it is, right there. That's the feather in the hat. And I think it's too many pieces. I am not a quilter, I'm learning. I've even started a new quilt group to help me to learn, and I won't be learning by myself. It's a quilter's journey on Facebook. I started a new group for real quilting beginners. And I think it has too many pieces where right there, this portion, where the feather is in the hat. So I'm gonna tweak it. I'm gonna change that and get a copyright for the new one. This one is okay, but it's just simply too many little pieces right there in that area. Also, I'm learning to use StreamYard to go live on multiple platforms. So this is my very first time going live on YouTube. I have practiced going live on YouTube and deleted the video. And so if you come on and I don't read your comments or I don't know where to look, just know that I'm learning. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm on my desktop. I'm going to lower my camera down so you can see my desk. I hope I can. Let me see. Can you see it? No. Okay, guys, wait a minute. Wait a moment. We can do this. I know this camera can be lowered because I did it earlier. Now that's too low. I'm so short that I can't reach it. But I'm grateful that you're going on this journey with me to learn. There we go, how this is done. There we go. There we go, right there. Yeah, that's great. Now let me move my keyboard out of the way. Oh, perfect. That is perfect. And forgive me, as I stated, I'm learning this. I'm learning. There we go. Now, that's the hat quilt pattern. I'm creating a new series of black quilt patterns. This pattern reminds me of my dad. I made this one in his honor, and the name of the pattern is Daddy's Hat. This one is Daddy's church hat, and the one that I'm going to tweak with the new feather is going to be Daddy's church hat 1, because I'm going to copyright that pattern as well. And you can make either pattern, but this one is kind of for a seasoned quilter, because in this one section, you have 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces from here to here alone. And they are very small. It was difficult for me to stitch them together. And it's just hard, but it can be done. I didn't bring my sample where I was practicing, but it can be done and it looks great. But we're going to tweak this just a bit. So that's the hat, so you'll know what it looks like. This is the key. The key shows you where you're going, how to do it. Just like on a map, and you have the key. Well, that's what this is for the pattern. Now, I'm not a professional quilt pattern designer by any means. So all of this is new to me. It is a learning process for me. But let me turn it around. But I am enjoying every bit of it. I just love it. So let's get started. Now, what I use is, I use this beautiful graph paper that I get from the Hobby Lobby, and it works great for designing piece quilts because of the way the grid is made. I just love it. There it is. Now, what happened, the reason this is so bent up, I had my glass near it and knocked it over. So my paper, my tablet, it comes in a tablet, was almost ruined. But I was able to save these few sheets, and we're going to get started. Now, what I use is a ruler, or if you call them straight edges. This is one that is used for quilting. I love it because I can see through it. The numbers are large on it, so I really like this one. And I also use, let me get my pencil. I also use a small one, but you know how it is. When you get ready to do something, things disappear. And I couldn't locate my small ruler, but it's the same. It's clear like this one, and it's small. Now, sometimes I use this pencil, but I think today I'm going to use these. These work really, really well because I have to erase a lot. Now, let me show you how I get started. I'm going to use the sketch as a guide. Let me see. I can sit it right here. I'm going to use the sketch as a guide. And this grid paper, what makes it so nice is that it has these square areas, and I can keep everything organized, and I can count the squares. For the brim of the hat, that's what I'm going to create first, is the brim. And I'm going to go in the center of my grid paper, and we're going to create the brim. So this grid has these square sections. So this is a square. This is a square. This is a square. And then we have a section of 3. So I'm going to use this. I hope you can see it. Let me come up here. I'm going to use this line as my center line. And don't ask me how I got started in designing quilt patterns, but I'll give you a little inside story. My very first quilt pattern that I designed was over 30 years ago. I designed a quilt pattern, and I sold a couple of the patterns, and I wanted to sell the pattern to quilters, and I got afraid because I'm not a quilter. I said, well, it's not good enough. And I stopped creating my quilt patterns. But I was so encouraged by someone who said not to let others define you and to keep on going all of these years later. And she was talking about doing something that you love. And I love creating quilt patterns. I think I'll start with the top. And when I decided to create my quilt patterns, I took off. And I've been designing almost every day since then. I just love it. Now I'm going to move this up and use the bottom of the ruler. And the grid is not a real deep grid, so you can see it well. So forgive me if you're not able to see it quite as well as I'd hope. You know, Daddy's church hat was always a big deal. My dad would say that he was sharp as a tack when he would sport his church hats. And he didn't have a lot of church hats like my mom. In the in the Black community, you have, well, when I was younger, the women wore church hats. And very seldom do you hear people talking about the men. But the men also had church hats. And Daddy would get a new church hat, maybe once every 2 years. And he would change them up seasonally, wear the winter one in the winter, etc. Where my mom had hat boxes with several church hats. And you knew not to bother her church hat, even though the boxes were gorgeous. There we go. I'm doing the top of the hat. Now, I don't know the parts of a hat, but I know that other part is the brim. I don't know what this is called, but I'm going to come on down 2 sections with it. And I hope you're able to see that. There it is. You can see that better. I have my light over here, and it's blocking some of the view. But it's okay. We're going to keep on going. Now, one thing about a man's church hat it always has a band. And that's what this pod is. It's the band to the church hat. Like that. That's going to create the band. And so far, this is identical to my very first pattern. And it's going to look kind of similar. There we go. Now this is coming on across to create the band on the church hat. And I tell you, these hats were a topic of conversation after church service ended outside. And if you were having dinner or something after church, oh, it wasn't unusual for Daddy's church hat to be in a prominent place in the fellowship hall. Because one thing you didn't want somebody to sit on your church hat. That was a no-no. Okay, I'm going to come down. Let me see. From this corner. Now, that's one thing about designing the quilt patterns. You have to be accurate with the sketch. And I'm going to show you why in just a minute. Because when you create the pattern, and you put your seam allowance, it has to be exact. That was another reason I was so nervous about trying to sell my very first quilt pattern that I designed many years ago, over 30 years ago. I didn't want to mess up somebody's fabric. But I found out that all quilt patterns are not as accurate as you like. Okay, I hope you can see it. That's the top of the hat. Let me turn it around so you can see it. You see the top portion? That's this portion of the hat. All right, and the band. So we have the band. Now I'm going to sketch the brim. Now we're going to come out 1/2 of a block. Just like this. Just like this. And then it takes 2 of these to create the bottom. So I'm going to do the side of each. And this video will be part 1. And then I'll come back with you and we'll finish it up in part 2. So right now, I don't see any comments, so I think I'm here alone, but I really appreciate your joining me for this process. I'm enjoying this. So look, It's time for my husband's dialysis to end. So I'm going to stop right here. I'm not going to go any further. Let me turn it around so you can see it. There we go. Turn this around. Let me move this. There it is. There's part 1 right there. Now look, thank you so much for joining the Old Bird today. I really appreciate you joining me. This is going to be part 1, and I'll come back live and we'll do part 2 and complete the key. Have a blessed day, everybody. Because for the best, it's just gotta be handmade. And please like the video and share it out if you enjoyed it. Have a good one. Bye-bye.